So both of these editing softwares have been through significant changes in this past year, and this might be the trickiest versus video I've had to make. So let's get started. Quick disclaimer, these are both the free and most up-to-date versions of each software. I couldn't afford their pro plans, so yeah. The first category is the interface. Now, HitFilm's interface is really similar to its previous versions and virtually designed at the same standard as any other editing software. So it's not that difficult to navigate. Now, HitFilm does require you to log in when you first open it with the same account that you used to download it on the website. Then you can see the home screen where you can create or open a project. Then after that, we have the standard timeline with the editing tools on the sidebar, the audio meter, the preview screen, and the rest of the panels, which are super customizable like the layout that I have here. Not to mention, but HitFilm does include an interface tour that you can see by switching the learn toggle on, but more on that later. Now switching over to Lightworks, which also has a simple login screen that will allow you to use Lightworks for free with your created account and will keep refreshing when the trial is expired in 90 days. And then you're presented with the option of opening or creating your video project. But inside the editor is your typical media library, timeline, and preview screen. But you can also switch to different pages by selecting one of the different options depending on what you're working on, such as audio or visual effects, which is pretty neat. And it looks like all the editing tools are hidden and only available when you right click. Other than that, it's a pretty basic interface, nothing too fancy. So we know that HitFilm has a nice design and a quick video tour of its interface, but Lightworks also has a quick tour guided by prompts to learn its interface as well. Not to mention it's pretty simple and not too complicated. So they both tie in this round. So how easy is it to learn to use HitFilm? Well, with their pretty intuitive and customizable design, hundreds of tutorials on the internet, and a very active community and Discord, I'd say you'll get the hang of it pretty quick. Now, I was going to save this point for the features category of the video, but I'm just going to mention it now. The coolest feature I think they've added since the update definitely has to be the learning tab. And it's this toggle that when activated, a side panel will appear containing many tutorials on different categories and topics of the editing and content creation process that you can watch and learn and do right from HitFilm itself. I mean, it's a really neat feature that is just super helpful, especially when you're new to the software and editing in general, and one that I haven't seen anyone else do it this well. Not to mention that HitFilm has a very similar tool set and layout to some of the most popular video editing softwares out there, so I'd say you're in good hands. Lightworks is also super easy to learn, not because they have some video tutorials and a community around it, but mainly because of the editing experience itself is simple and straightforward, like I mentioned before. Now, if you're coming from a different editing software, there are some things that you have to get used to, but this free version of Lightworks does offer sufficient effects and features to get the job done. It's obvious that HitFilm and Lightworks are in different leagues of their own, but they still have some similarities, and they're both really easy to use even if it's because of entirely different reasons. So, another tie. There's no sponsor for today's video. I actually opened a Patreon page since I've been getting some comments about that, so it's open, the page is now live, and you can go check it out if you want to invest and support in the channel, so I can continue to make these videos even better. But not just that, I'm also giving out some pretty cool perks in each tier that I think you enjoy. So yeah, go check it out, and thank you. This is where it gets tricky in regards to which software has more features, and that would be HitFilm. However, for most of you that know, HitFilm was acquired by Artlist and it went through many changes, including new feature additions to Artlist music services and video templates, since they own different digital media services, which is pretty convenient since they offer free options for music, sound effects, and animations. But it's also convenient if you have an existing account with them. They did implement different subscription models, like a lot of them, depending on what you're using them for, and you can see what's allowed in each subscription tier. However, you can still use HitFilm for free. If you're using a completely free account, many features, especially video effects, are going to be labeled under the upgraded version. And this is where I want to be super clear. HitFilm does not export with a watermark, unlike some people tend to believe. What's going on here is that HitFilm allows you to use these pro effects, but it gives you a warning that if you use these effects without a pro subscription, it will watermark your video. And I believe that's where all the confusion is coming from. So you just have to be careful when selecting what effects or features you're using to avoid that watermark. There's also some features that HitFilm won't let you use at all, like adjusting the aspect ratio and other examples. So just make sure you know what tools you're using. But yeah, HitFilm has some new cool features, but many that's been blocked off, such as the editing effects. That really would be nice to have. Lightworks, on the other hand, is strangely similar. I mean, they don't have a learning tab or tutorials built in, but they do have built-in music services from Epidemic Sound and other stock video and template services that you can log in and get access to from Lightworks if you have an account with those services. The only thing I'm concerned about is the editing effects, which Lightworks does not have a lot of, but in order to access them, you constantly have to be switching to the VFX tab to find them, such as transitions, which they call mixes, and other pretty common effects. However, by doing this, they have implemented a dedicated control tab, which makes it easier to customize the effect, as well as some node features as well if you're into that. And similarly to HitFilm, they also have blocked off some of their effects that say upgrade, which you can find especially in the audio tab. Not so much on the video effects though, which is good. But Lightworks does have a severe issue with the free version, which is capping the video resolution export at 720p, which I know is a huge letdown and deal breaker for most of you, which I don't understand why they would limit the resolution, but who knows? Honestly, everything seemed pretty neck and neck up to this point, but with HitFilm, you can avoid the watermark by not using these pro features, but unfortunately, you can't avoid the 720p export cap on Lightworks, which gives HitFilm another point. Let's talk about optimization. Now, this is a pretty easy one, and I can definitely say that HitFilm wins this round for one big reason: the major redesign it went through, either for better or for worse. And it brought a new wave of users onto its platform and the crazy customer support that they're dealing with, which is pretty hard not to keep optimizing this editing software. And hopefully they can fix some inconveniences in the future, since they announced that you can't download the older versions of HitFilm Express without having your license key when you first installed it, which puts many at an unfortunate situation, unlike when they did allow that for a brief amount of time when I released my updated review on HitFilm. However, Lightworks has not seen too much of a change in its freeform. I also made a review a while back, and it still looks pretty much the same with the same restrictions. But Lightworks has been putting more emphasis and more time on its pro products by redesigning the whole website and logo for these flagship editing software. And it's hard not to feel like they left the free version of Lightworks on the back end. I mean, even with both of these editors, we can see which one packs more value if you were to pay a subscription. They are similarly priced when HitFilm doesn't have any discounts, but HitFilm does give you more value and includes their photo editing software iMerge, but that's on you to decide. So HitFilm takes another point. So that makes HitFilm the winner for this versus episode. Now, I know that this will have some back and forth in the comment section, so let me know what you think. And the real reason why HitFilm won was because of the resolution cap that Lightworks set on its free version. I mean, it doesn't make sense to cap it at 720p. That's simply not enough in my opinion, especially for YouTube, considering that there are other editing softwares like HitFilm that allows rendering in higher resolutions. Yeah, both have their limits, some more than others, but like I always say, work with what you have, especially if you have many options. Anyways, I hope this video helps you in making your decision. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.